Christian Witness here. I was doing a reading. Well, this year I have a new devotional. I like changing my devotional up every once in a while so it's not the same one every year, just to have different reflections. And this one I got, it's devotions from the beach, and it's 100 devotions. I think you can see it. And I was reading one, and it was kind of an excited one. And so I really want to share it with you. I decided that I'm going to read it, and because if I go to tell it, I'm thinking I'm going to screw it up. Okay, let me read it, and I just think it's kind of exciting. Do you know anything about sea oats? I've seen them, and I didn't know what we have lakes and swamps here. We don't have the ocean here, and I've never seen the ocean except in like pictures on TV or something. But I think I've seen sea oats that anyway because I've been to the beach in Florida and Alabama and stuff like that. I can't remember if I've noticed it around here, like around lakes or something. I don't know. But I've seen them somewhere along the lines, but not at the ocean. But anyway, this is the picture of the sea oats. Let me get that in. And I guess that's a sandbar. I'm not really sure what that is with the sand, but it builds it up. But it is so awesome because I didn't even know that it could be illegal to pick them in some states. I said, you kidding me? I thought it was a fragile little thing. They thought it was like a weed. Okay, let me read this one. The Strength of Sea Oats. This little piece of, this is with the scriptures on, is Matthew 11:29-30. Take my yoke upon you, for my yoke is easy to bear, and the burden I give you is light. Now this is a word, I guess, what the sea oats is really called, but let me kind of say it. Let me spell it. UNIOLAPANICULATA. Sounds like a defense weapon, doesn't it? And it is. But it's better as lovely, graceful, waving in the wind sea oats. Picking sea oats is against the law in some states. Why is this grass so important? Deep beneath the surface, the root system of these willowy grasses is strong and complex. The kind of strength the sand and soil need to hold them in place during a hurricane, a tropical storm, and other extreme weather conditions. Or other benefits. This grass catches sand and forms dunes. By all accounts, it is immune to pests, and once established, it is very low maintenance. It can withstand drought, and blowing sand actually stimulates its growth. And for us, as we walk to the shore, the sea oats also indicate that we're almost to the sea. When Jesus takes hold of our hearts, there is a similar effect. This gentle friend builds a root system that can withstand storms, extreme weather conditions, and many of these situations actually stimulate our spiritual growth. Jesus protects and builds us. He is immune to evil, and his yoke is easy, and his burden is light. And as we journey on, he tenderly reminds us that we're almost there. Lord, the sea oats illustrate how perfectly you crafted this world and my spiritual life. I praise you for your creation. A lot of times that I'm trying to see, this was put out by Thomas and Nelson, but I don't see an author. So I would, say the name, but I showed you the cover. So I got it at a Buc-ee's in Mississippi. I made a day trip over there to see a Buc-ee's. But anyway, back to the story. I just thought it was so amazing that sometimes in nature that we that God creates things and we benefit, and it's just so amazing, detail to attention, like how an ecosystem things benefit and work together. And I would have never thought that about those sea oats, because I've seen them, I've seen them like on the sides of the road and stuff. I don't know if that's a relative or, you know, I see those little things like that, and they're not, they might be just relatives. I don't know. I don't know too much about plants. I can't identify them. But anyway, that reminds me of a story that this guy I saw it on social media, that he was in this little, this section of trees, and I guess he knew trees and plants and stuff. I forget exactly what he did, but he was one of those people that into landscaping or something like that, or whatnot, that knew about those things. And he was showing us, oh, these are rare plants, and he was telling us that's why that that you might see like on the side of the road, you can't enter, it's private or whatever, or maybe not private, but it says it's against the law, because if people went in there, that they could harm the plants by walking and whatnot, pulling them, not knowing. And they're rare, and they need them. They have functions for the ecosystem, and they take a long time to grow. And I said, I wouldn't have guessed that was the reason it was blocked off, So anyway, back to this, is that I just thought it was amazing. And it's true, like our spiritual life, when God comes along and you start putting them first, like, try different things to put them first and do different things. And, or like reading the scripture, that was another thing I saw on social media, that you might have heard it with neuro science, like with the brain and the connections and stuff. Somebody was saying that it was proven that if you read the scriptures that daily, this is daily, that it does something with your brain and stuff like that, neuroscience, that it creates patterns, and it's healthy. And just like I said, sometimes I follow it, like, with neuroscience, with special needs kids. I find that interesting. They say there's a certain way you have to approach them because of the way they're built neurologically. So I just thought, wow, so you mean it works on brains in other ways, not just autism, but like reading the scriptures. And I thought that was interesting, how reading it, that it can affect your brain patterns and form them, and make healthy patterns or whatnot. But I just thought that was interesting. I keep going into different directions, but there's so much to tell. And so I just thought that was really, really interesting. And I hope you enjoyed the little story about the sea oats. I know I sure did. And that's a good reflection right there. Like how God comes into our hearts and stuff, and, just helps us in those ways, and changes us and things like that. Because I think when we do go through things, that it makes us stronger. It makes our faith stronger. So when we go through the next thing, that we're stronger. And so I just wanted to share that devotion with you today, and I hope you enjoyed it. And Christian Witness out, and to the next one. See y'all. Bye.